right, here we go. And I can see that y'all are jumping on our webinar here. This is our February webinar. And as always, if you attend our webinar, you can receive a 10% discount on our members kit. And I'm going to tell you that discount code right now. The code is FP4HMK. All right, Brandis, I think it's time for you just to come on. Just come on and let us see your sweet face.
Oh.
Brandis is coming to us from Florida.
Yeah.
She's a mom, she's a wife, and most of all, she's a Jesus girl. And she's going to share with you about this grace-filled plate. I'm so in love with that topic, that whole topic of understanding the psychology, and we can use that word in a good way, of understanding the best way for me to eat.
Sounds great. Yeah. I hear, we can have that baggage from tips like psychology, but I've learned over the years that anything good is found in God's word. So anything that a psychiatrist or psychologist is trying to teach you, cognitive behavioral therapy, simply renewing your mind. So God is like on top of it all, and everyone's just sort of sharing what he's already told us. So I am here today to share with you how to choose the best way of eating for you. If you're anything like me, you've tried diets on every end of the spectrum, only to find that they were not sustainable and you couldn't do them long term. And if you can't do something long term, well, it doesn't really work, does it? And this is a topic that makes me so excited. I'm so thrilled to share it with you because it's what I've done with clients for over a decade. And we're going to cover kind of what I would call a high view look at how this is going to work for you. Because I want you to sit back and absorb, right? We learn in layers. So first you're going to absorb, then you're going to understand, and then you can apply. So you sit back, you absorb what I'm going to tell you today. Vicki will send you out the booklet. You can print it off. It's really robust. It's something you're going to hang on to, and you're absolutely going to find so much help in it. And then you're going to apply it, which is where the transformation is. It's actually in the application. So this is going to be awesome. So I'm going to share my screen. All right, so let's start out by thinking about a diet. You go to a party. Oh, I'm on a diet. You hang out with friends. They want to talk about being on a diet. And we have this negative association with diets. Just like Vicki was saying, we think psychology, we think, oh, that's, we have a history with it. Well, diet actually, by definition, simply means the kinds of food that a person, animal, or community habitually eats, right? The diet of our ancestors is very different than the diet that we currently have. And so it's not diets that are bad. In fact, diets are just simply what we eat most of the time. Just your diet. No big deal. We don't need to judge it. It's just there. It is what it is. Where the problem comes in is when we slip into what I call the diet mentality. So this is the baggage that has been brought on by singles, dozens, many of dozens diets you may have been on. Every diet you go on, it kind of layers on another layer of guilt and shame and condemnation and things we should or shouldn't be doing. I mean, if I were to go to the grocery store and look at the shelf, just about every product besides like the produce section would probably be villainized on some diet or another. And then there are even some diets that I was on that told you not to eat certain kinds of vegetables. So, I mean, we just can't win, right? And so understanding the diet mentality is going to allow you to find a diet that really works for you or a way of eating. So the diet mentality can be spotted by a few ways of thinking. First is all or nothing or black and white thinking. Example, it's Sunday night and you know you're going to start your diet tomorrow. So we eat all of the cookies just so we don't have to eat them tomorrow, right? That's all or nothing thinking because we think tomorrow's all, so today is nothing. Or we realize that we can't make it to the gym on Wednesday, so on Monday we don't bother. It's really polarizing and it keeps us stuck. That's the diet mentality. That's what we're going to keep an eye out for as we move forward. The diet mentality is also not individualized. You get a diet book, you open it up, and it says, this is what you're going to eat. This amount, this frequency. And what if you don't like fish and you're eating fish 3 times a week, right? Or you just aren't really a broccoli person and the diet plan is built upon certain kinds of food that aren't for you. That's the diet mentality. It has to be this way to work. It's not sustainable. If it doesn't fit into your life, you can't do it long term. Things that involve overthinking about food, weighing, measuring, counting, obsessing, it's not sustainable. In fact, I remember back when I would count my almonds. I don't know if you guys have ever done that. Like it's like 7 or 12, maybe certain plans. Like my husband would go to grab an almond and he's lucky I didn't have a fork in my hand because the man would have been in trouble, right? And that's not a sustainable way to live. So diets, all or nothing, black and white thinking, they're not individualized for you, right? They're definitely not sustainable. So that's what we're really setting our sights on of like, this is what I want to avoid if I want to be able to follow this plan lifelong. And ultimately, it sets you up for failure because it's not sustainable. It's not individualized. And there's black and white thinking, which ultimately makes you think it's your fault. So-and-so could follow a diet, or all these people on social media, they're following it and they're losing weight. If I can't, it's my fault. But it's because it's not individualized and it's not sustainable. I hope as you, again, we're going through like this initial look of it. We're just absorbing. Just come back and watch the replay because you're going to want to watch the replay anyway to fill in your worksheets. Watch the replay and let that sink in for you. You're just like, yes, it wasn't all about me. I just didn't have the right tools, and we're going to help you get the right tools here. Okay, so how do we break free from the diet mentality? There's a couple of points that as you sort of mull and you chew on them, it will make it clear that the path away from the diets are sustainable habits. So we break free by understanding habit change. Changing one thing at a time skyrockets your chances of success. If you were to focus on simply eating a healthier breakfast over the next week or so, and you put your effort into that and you didn't stress about everything else that you do want to change, and we all know we have a laundry list of things we want to change. If you kept your focus on that one habit, you're going to have an exponentially higher chance of being successful. When you go on a diet, Sunday night, you're eating all the cookies. Monday, you're supposed to be eating steamed broccoli and chicken. Like now you're shopping a new way, you're eating a new way. It's just too much. You set yourself up for failure. We break free by understanding habit change. You also understand that you are unique, right? We all have a unique physiology. You have a unique amount of time. Someone may be retired. Someone may have a house full of kids. You have unique energy levels and your resources are different. So unless your way of eating fits into your unique situation, you're sunk, right? It's not sustainable. If you're running kids to soccer practice, picking up from school, you're taking them to band, and you start a new plan that says you need to work out for an hour a day and, prep all your vegetables and do all this stuff, it's going to be really hard and you're going to feel like a failure. But if you understand what your limitations are or what the blessings are in your life that you want to work around, then you can pick something that works for you. So you got to embrace that and find something that fits into your life rather than trying to fit your life into a diet. And finally, the destination is yours and yours alone. God has a plan for you, and it includes your diet and exercise, your diet, the way of eating. He knows what your calling is and the energy level that you're going to need. He knows your physiology and how you need to be fueled for what's ahead. And so when you follow the voice of the Holy Spirit, you're going to be doing exactly what God designed you to do. Okie doke. So now's where we get to workshopping it. I'm going to tell you again, you're going to get your participant guide. I don't know if I'm on the video. Let me see. We'll show you right here. Oh, there we go. You're going to get a workbook following up on email. Just want you to sit back and relax and just look forward to getting this workbook because you're going to want to go in and fill out the spaces because it's a lot of fun and it's really, really freeing. All right. So we want to start out by asking you a question no one may have ever asked you. Like seriously, this is such a good question, and it's going to light bulbs go off to why plans may not work, may not have worked for you in the past. We want to know what foods make you feel your best. Like in reality, step aside from all of that old diet mindset about what I should eat and what I shouldn't eat, and just think about it. Like, man, when I have this, I feel really great. I feel energized and I feel satisfied. So the meal, the salad with all the healthy ingredients may give you energy, but you may not feel really satisfied. So that salad with some like cheese and nuts and maybe a piece of like a croissant or something on the side, it's going to like hit all the marks for you, right? That's going to help you feel your best. And you might take a couple of days or a week to fill this out as you observe what works for you. But then this is going to be the thing that which you filter future habit changes through. So on the flip side, what makes you feel your worst? We probably are a little more familiar with that. I want you to be aware of the quantity of the food you're saying makes you feel your worst, because you might be like, oh, ice cream, that's bad. It makes me feel terrible. Or may say it makes you feel good, right? But it may be that a scoop of ice cream actually feels really good, but a pint, not so great. So don't get stuck on specifically the foods, but like the way that you eat them also. And the next sheet will help with that also. What foods do you truly enjoy? Sometimes we have associations with certain foods that have been called off limits, and we think, oh, if I could just have that, I would be so happy. And the same thing happened to me with like Swedish fish and hot tamales. I loved red chewy candy, and I didn't let myself eat it at all. And I thought it was like the thing that I just always wanted. When I had it, I didn't actually like it at all, right? So we want to think about what you truly enjoy. That's the Midnight Over Miami chocolate cake from Whole Foods. That would fit there for me. Gummy bears, I thought I liked some, but not really. What food do you not like? We want to be sure you're clear on this, because if you don't like something, you're not going to eat it, right? And it's going to set you up for failure. And why would you do that to yourself? There are so many great foods out there, just like there are so many awesome ways to exercise your body, to limit yourself to a certain food list or a certain food plan. It's not good. You got to find out what you like and what you don't like, and you're going to mix it in there. And it's okay if it's not super healthy food. We can work with that, but we got to start with some awareness. What would you like to eat more of? So you've got what you like, and maybe you're like, I like pizza and hot dogs. Like, that's my favorite. All right, great. What do you want to eat more of? And I think you might find you actually want to fuel your body with some nourishing food. I might want to have some more fruit for breakfast. Oh man, it would be really cool to switch over to wheat bread from white. See, because I'm not telling you you have to do it. I'm asking you what sounds good. I just bet you're going to connect with your real desires a little bit more deeply. I know you can't wait to fill out the sheet, right? Okay. And last one on what foods, what would you like to eat less of? Don't get in the old diet mindset. That was the diet mentality, all or nothing thinking, good and bad foods. In reality, there's certain foods you just rather not have. For example, maybe you tend to overeat, like the Chips Ahoy. They're not really that good. I mean, really, for a chocolate chip cookie, I kind of like to eat less of that. But what I'd like to eat more of are like stopping off at the local bakery and grabbing one of those like delicious white chocolate macadamia cookies. You know, maybe not often, but I'd like to have that occasionally. So think about that. You are in the driver's seat. You don't have to follow a rule. You've got a great head on your shoulders, right? You're able to manage so many other things in your life, but you don't trust yourself with food. And I'm going to ask you to trust yourself as you prayerfully answer these questions. All right, so the next sheet is similar. So now we're going a layer deeper. Same questions in the boxes, but now we're looking at behaviors. Remember I said about the portion of ice cream? A little bit feels really good. A lot kind of can feel kind of icky. The same thing could happen in context. We could have that, cake, that chocolate cake. I could have went into Whole Foods and ate it in the car before anybody saw me, because I've done things like that before. Or could have brought it home, sat with my family at the table, and we all could have shared it together. So there I have a behavior that made me feel good, versus a behavior that made me feel bad. Delineating between that is really helpful. So we'll kind of clip through these a little bit more quickly. What behaviors make you feel your best? Man, when I eat when I'm hungry, like I'm speaking for myself, but you may notice this too now that I'm talking about it. The food tastes so good. Have you noticed when you sit down to a meal and you're like good and hungry? It tastes so good. Even the things that maybe don't always appeal to us taste even better. So I'd like to eat more often when I'm hungry. Um, what makes you feel your worst? For me, it was picking while I was making food. I used to eat the food while I was prepping dinner, and then I would sit down to the table and not be hungry. So I missed my best behavior because I was doing something I didn't really even want to do. So that was something I would want to do less of. I didn't like how it felt. What behaviors do you truly enjoy? This could be the popcorn on your Friday night movie night, right? Like this brings joy to me. Is it the healthiest? No, I mean, you could be eating carrot sticks, but like it's popcorn with your family watching a movie. Give yourself permission to do things you truly enjoy, not the things you feel like you have to do because you couldn't do them or you felt guilty, what you really like. Same thing, opposite side. What don't you like? Sneaking food, right? Eating in the car, not paying attention, scrolling your phone while you eat. Let's think about that. And then again, same thing. What would you like to do more of? And what would you like to do less of? I will encourage you to keep this booklet that you're going to receive close by and continue to take notes in it. Maybe you print off 2 copies, right? You can have your scribble copy and you can have your final copy. Because you're gonna start to notice as you pay attention, I thought I liked this or I thought I didn't like that. And things will start to become clear and it's gonna get easier and easier to make choices that make you feel good. All right, so on the next sheet, we're going to talk about would you rather. My daughter, she's 8 and she has a little joke book, Would You Rather? She loves to do around the kitchen table. Would you rather have a polar bear for a pet or a monkey? And why? Well, this is about the food that you eat. And I think you're going to enjoy it because you're going to see how sometimes we would like both and it just doesn't work for us. So we've been in seasons of very polarizing food guidelines, right? Back in the 90s, it was low fat and like tiny small meals where people would bring their little containers of food around. I mean, they actually had coolers with that. Did anybody have one of those coolers just for taking your food? It was like packing for a trip and it was just a day at the office. And then we come into like more recently, like carbs are bad and fat is in. Now you're only supposed to eat 2 meals a day. It's maddening, right? Just maddening. And it's so all over the place. When in reality, what did we talk about earlier? It's got to be appealing, it's sustainable, and it's got to fit with your energy levels. Listen, it doesn't matter how many meals you eat a day. What helps you feel your best? I mean, really, we can get so caught in the weeds of is this good or is this bad? And then we don't do anything at all. Let's find out what you like because there's so many valid answers here. All right. Would you rather, all right, ready? Eat a smaller portion of rich food or a larger portion of lighter food? So that's going and getting like the steak and the mashed potatoes, like the rich food with like the buttery sauce, or like the salad with the chicken. Now, you wouldn't have to fit into every box, a single box. It's not like you're picking one and this is what you're doing for life. But generally speaking, what would you prefer? Now, you're going to love this on your sheet too, because there's a couple of things to be aware of. So if you like smaller portions of rich foods, eating smaller portions of rich foods can be very satisfying when eating the meals. It's especially important to be aware of eating slowly so that you have time to tune into your body's stop signal, as less volume can cause you to overeat. So rich food's great. You're just going to have a little bit less. A larger portion of a lighter food, that's such as vegetables, lean meats, and whole grains, do a great job of filling up our bellies with fiber and water. However, it's easy to grow accustomed to eating more, like big portions, right? And so you want to keep an eye out for eating more just because the food's healthy. So there could be a meal, you have a meal earlier in the day, it's a little richer, so you'll probably pick a little bit less, or a meal later in the day. it's a little lighter. So your portion might be a little bit more. And there's permission to pick one. However, if you go on a diet, well, this wouldn't really be a diet. We'll start with the diet version. If you went on a diet and you're eating smaller portions of light food, oh my goodness, you're gonna be starving all the time. That's like lean cuisine, 200 calories, and you're like gnawing, on the box when it's over because it's just not satisfying. You might end up binging or overeating later because you didn't adequately fuel yourself. On the flip side, if you ate larger portions of rich food, probably going to gain weight, right? That's a lot of calories. Well, seeing both options and how they kind of work together, kind of cool. All right. Would you rather eat larger, less frequent meals or smaller, more frequent meals? There is no right answer here. There will be someone who says, when I eat 3 meals a day, I feel satisfied. I don't think about food at all. Like, I just love it. It works so good for me. There will be someone else who says, I really don't have a huge like I can't eat a bunch of food. So I would have little tiny bits throughout the day, maybe 6 times, and that keeps my energy humming. I would never tell anyone that either of those is wrong, because if it works for you and the way your body is and it gives you peace and gives you what you need to serve the God with your heart, soul, mind, and strength because you are well fueled, you're going to pick it, right? But there are things to be aware of, right? If eating less often is convenient, as you don't have to prepare food all day, but keep in mind that it's common to overeat when you have fewer meals because you're trying to compensate because you don't want to get hungry too soon. If we're eating smaller meals more often, right, you can, this method helps some people avoid overeating as they never get too hungry, but it's easy to get into grazing, constantly eating all the day. So you try to be intentional. Not bad, not good. What works for you? It's so cool to be able to pick that out. All right, last one on this sheet. Would you rather eat all foods in moderation? We hear that a lot, right? I like all things in moderation. Or avoid foods that are harder to moderate. And this can come down to your dieting history. You could have a rocky relationship with certain foods. Like me and Cracklin Oat Bran, I know it's so random, but that was like a really hard thing for me. I binged on that all the time. And so I just didn't buy certain foods because they were hard for me to moderate. However, there are some things that I could have in smaller portions and feel comfortable with, and it didn't feel triggering. So you may, have a little bit in each of these, but eating all foods in moderations, diets often leave us feeling that we're incapable of moderation as we tend to overdo foods that were considered off limits. However, when the choice is made to allow all foods, it's much, much easier to eat all types of food without the mental baggage. So that's saying, I'm free to eat any kind of food, so I don't have to eat them all right now. There's a lot of freedom in that. Or if we avoid some foods that are harder to moderate, if it feels like saying no is easier and better for you than saying just a little, it's completely okay to avoid certain foods for a season, right? And we want to really embrace that it's our choice and no one else is making us do it, because that will cause a little rebellion. So these are the sheets you're going to come back and fill out later. And ultimately, what we're going to come up with is your ideal way of eating. Wow, I really like to eat larger portions of light food a couple of times a day. I don't ever want to eat fish, but man, I love to have pizza once a week. We're not saying you have to do that all the time, but generally, this is what really works for me. So I'm going to ask you, when you get this sheet, to fill in the orangey pinky spot with what you discover. And then I want to let you know that that is the desired end result. We don't expect you to fill out this form and then tomorrow eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full, don't eat past dinner, do all these things that you thought were really valuable to you, right? Because as we learned in the first couple of slides, habit change takes time. So you're going to brain dump your stuff in here, what you think works for you. You might need to write on the back, and that's totally okay. And then I want you to think about that being 80% of the time. That's your desired way to eat after much practice, but that doesn't even need to be the case all the time. Nobody eats perfectly. My goodness. I remember getting Shape magazine and saying like, oh, this celebrity eats, this little bit of meal right here every single day. No, no, no. They just put whatever they wanted you to see right there. Nobody eats perfectly every single day. So having a little cushion, that 20% can give you so much peace and help you let go of the diet mentality. So there will be some more instructions on here, but I want you to think about that. Sometimes or here's an example. I really like to eat when I'm hungry and stop when I'm full, but sometimes I just want to eat dinner with my family. And so I may eat when I'm not hungry then, and it's totally okay. Please don't analyze 80/20. It's just a concept to help you keep focused. So after you have really brain dumped some things that you think are going to work for you, you've given yourself some wiggle room because that's super important. I have a fun sheet here. So we call it your continuum of change. You've got the list of things you would like to do, and you can't do them all right now. It's not going to work. You try to do them all, you're going to fall flat on your face and be discouraged. We want to build your confidence in your ability to change. And that means focusing on one, maybe two things at a time. This little A to B sheet, A is where you are today, B is where you get to that 80%, where you're eating in a way that feels great for you, your best way of eating. What are some steps that you could take to get there? So let's say we have eat when I'm hungry, stop when I'm full, pizza night with the family, and having some produce in my meals. That would work for me. So it's easy to answer for myself, right? Probably couldn't, if I'm sort of in like the overeating mode or struggling with food, I'm not going to get there overnight. And so it could be my step in my continuum of change. First, I'm going to wait till I'm hungry for breakfast. Then I'm going to wait till I'm hungry for lunch. Then I'm probably not going to do dinner because I like to eat with my family. So I'm going to skip and go to something else. Then I could potentially add in some more veggies. Stop eating breakfast when I'm full. You see what I'm doing? You're kind of not having to overthink it, but imagining what it could look like to change over time. When you get into it, you may jump around and do things in a different order, but ultimately, this will give you some really great ways to brainstorm how to reach your goals in a slow, sustainable way, which means it will stick around. And then here we want to go through, once you're looking at that particular list, I want you to think of what habit change do you think would get you closer to your goals over the next month? We've got this big long list. I want to eat when I'm hungry, stop when I'm full, whatever, eat more produce. But that's too much. So over the next month, what would be a great starting point? I think I really like the idea of eating when I'm hungry for breakfast because at work, I have flexibility. I can take my break when I like. That would be good. Or adding in something feels free. I want to focus on adding in vegetables. That's what I could do over the next month to help me get along that continuum of change. And this is what I would do with clients when I had one-on-one coaching clients who paid me a lot of money every month, right? We'd get on the phone and say, what's the habit you think could get you there? So if that was the habit over the next month, what would your next week look like? If I wanted to eat more produce, it could be shopping for vegetables. Like, let's get to the roots. Let's not try to focus on necessarily the fruit. You want to get to the root before the fruit can grow. And then once you go through that, we want to ask you on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you can nail this change over the next week? Now, you're not going to nail it, right? You don't have to be perfect. It's 80/20. But that verbiage is intentional because I want you to think about setting yourself up for success. What we usually do is we set the bar really high, which would be nice if we were an Olympian and we were training for the Olympics, but really we want to be consistent and we want to fit into our busy lives. Find a habit you feel like you can be 8 out of 10 confident you can nail over the next week. If you're at like a 5, taper it back. I know it feels like a bad thing to taper it back, but it's really, really good to be realistic and to be there to advocate with yourself for yourself to make it doable. And then I'm going to ask you one more time because it's all about this. Is this something you could realistically do? Diets have programmed us to think like I bought the book, so now I can do it. Let's think about it, or is there going to be changes in your schedule? Is it really, really going to work for you? because there's like 100 different things you could do to get healthier this week. Pick one that's going to work instead of setting yourself up for failure. Then we're just tapering it down one more time. What is one thing you will focus on next week to get you to your desired end result? I know it feels a little repetitive, but when working with clients, we get that initial knee-jerk reaction. Oh yeah, I'm going to work out an hour every day this week. Like, really? Okay. How on a scale of 1 to 10, how does that feel for you? And they're like, pause. Yeah, I don't know, like a 5. All right. Well, what could you do? And we talk until you hear the tone of voice change and you'll feel it inside of you too, right? There's that, I can do it. And then there's like, yeah, I can nail it. You keep going until you get to the confidence that you can nail it. And that's what you start with. And then you have your little spot here where you're going to go ahead and write in next week's habit. And that is where you're going to begin. You start, probably work on your worksheets a couple a day. You'll probably be ready by next week to start with that first habit. So when you get your printable later, I have just a quick reminder about all the steps that we talked here. So you're going to watch the replay and take notes. You're going to try your habit. You're going to keep doing that one thing until it feels easy. Listen, time flies. Don't rush yourself, right? It'll be Christmas before we know it. And if you take your time and acquire 10 awesome habits, like one a month, that would be incredible. So don't push it so hard that things fall out of your radar. Make it part of what you do, even on a bad day. And oh my goodness, the changes will snowball. So watch the replay, take note, try a new habit. Then once that feels comfortable, we're going to add a new one. And we're going to rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat until it feels easier. Finally, we have a couple of bonuses in there for you. These are like my favorite sort of cheat sheets that will help you along this journey. Sometimes I used to wish I could borrow someone's brain. Like, how do they think like that? Like, how are they so happy? How come stuff doesn't get under their skin, right? How do they feel comfortable in their body? And so I have these negative thoughts and I didn't know how to replace them. And so I have your all or nothing cheat sheet and your body image cheat sheet, because all or nothing thinking and negative body image will absolutely trip up this journey towards habit change, because we'll get anxious wanting to lose weight and we'll just sideline all of our progress because we want to get onto a diet or make things happen faster. We kind of keep then stuck in that all or nothing thinking. So these will be awesome. You definitely want to print these out and hang on to them. And then in the middle is your celebration cheat sheet. If you're like me and you're really good at spotting your own flaws and you hesitate to celebrate, I want to encourage you to become your own cheerleader. And listen, David did it in the Psalms. He's like talking to himself, like, why are you cast down, my soul? Hope in God. Like, sometimes you got to talk to yourself. You got to get yourself excited. And the beauty of celebrations, you do your habit, you celebrate that you did it, begins to seal it in your brain in a deeper way, like literally in your brain chemistry, that becomes a bit more a part of you. And it's like, wow, I do this thing and then I get excited, rather than the old way. Like, I did this thing and it wasn't good enough and that wasn't fun. So now I'm not going to try it at all. So I'm going to completely reprogram the way we think from the inside out, embrace those small sustainable changes. And I believe that you will be shocked at how different it feels when you give yourself permission to do what what works best for you. So thank you so much for the opportunity to come speak. I know it was a lot. I will encourage you to come back and watch it again so that you can become more familiar with the content, and make sure I don't, hold on, Zoom moves stuff all the time. Just go through it and sit with it. And I believe that it will be an excellent, excellent resource for you.
Brandis, already I'm seeing in the chat that our people, our first place people, our new people, they get this.
Yes.
It's almost like, I love your puzzle that you have in that logo. It's like these missing pieces that we've tried to figure out ourselves. So thank you for that. What I would love is that we need to do a follow-up webinar. Don't y'all agree? Like, thumbs up, everybody, and let us do our homework and come back, and then let maybe we'll do it not as, look at all those thumbs going up, not as a webinar, but as a, maybe as part of our inner circle. So we have an inner circle that we have access to all of our speakers, leaders. We'll do something because
like
this is, we're going to want to hear how successful this has been for so many of our people. And it fits perfectly for what we've been teaching and do teach in First Place for Health. Really, that understanding, if we focus on behaviors that we need to gain rather than on what we need to lose. That number that we need to lose is not motivating. But these tools, these behaviors that we can gain, Brandis, yeah, those are great tools for success. So thank you. And everybody, it's been delightful to be with you. You will get an email in the next couple of days with these handouts, that the worksheet that Brandis has provided, but also that extra, those bonus sheets are going to be so valuable. So Brandis, thank you so much. You'll also get that code again if you want to join a First Place for Health class, or start one. That member kit is so valuable. Do you have something else you wanted to show that you were
Well, I have to just wrap up because I know the
Yes,
resistance
wrap
that
up.
I feel, because I like feel it after you're talking, and I'm like, there's like that people, it just can't work for me, right? We've been told that we're so broken that we're not going to get it. Like, it's going to work for everybody else, but it's not going to work for me. And I just want to encourage you that you have the Holy Spirit within you. If you've prayed the prayer, Jesus, I'm a sinner, come save me and live within me, you have wisdom residing within you. And so as you're filling out these sheets, pray over them and ask the Holy Spirit to give you guidance, and then trust that he will tell you what it is that you need to hear. And then you rely on him for strength to apply these. And then, like you guys, he's the one who gets the glory. And it's really all about our relationship with God. So I just want to encourage you, you can do it. It's totally doable. You just have to learn to trust yourself with the help of the Holy Spirit. So anyway, I had
Yes,
to say
Brandis. And that we could be truthful on this. There is no condemnation, that we put that upon ourselves. And when we are truthful, these worksheets are an opportunity for us to really tell the truth. And what did Jesus say? You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So God bless you, everybody. Brandis, thank you again for being with us with First Place for Health. We look forward for more to come. All right. Good night, everybody.
Bye.